All right, babies, here we go with example 12. Now that we've talked about conditional probability a little bit and we've also talked about independence, now we're going to cram it all together. So in example 12, what does your GPA say? We have 500 first-year students at a state university, so there's my total right there, 500 students. And they are classified both according to their GPA in high school, so what they had in high school, that's this right up here, all right? And whether or not they are on academic probation at the end of their first semester. So some of them are on probation and some of them are not, so that's how the table is set up. Okay, so let's start answering questions here. Part A. What is the probability that a randomly selected first-year student is on academic probation after their first semester? Well, all of the kids who are yes on probation are these right here. So that's going to be 135 out of 500. That's all you have to do for this problem. And if I want to make it real pretty, I am going to write a probability statement just like this. The probability of being on academic probation is equal to 135 over 500. All right, I'm just communicating well. That's all I'm doing. Okay, part B. What is the probability that a randomly selected first-year student is on academic probation and has a high school GPA of 3.5 or better? So now I'm looking in the yes again, but now I'm just going to consider these people right here, the people who have a 3.5 GPA or better in high school. So the probability of being on academic probation and having a GPA of 3.5 plus. That's going to be 30 out of 500. That is exactly what you do with that problem. Now we're going to look at part C. What's the probability that a randomly selected first-year student is on academic probation if they had a high school GPA of 3.5 or better? Okay, that if tells me something. It tells me that I'm going to narrow it down from the 500 people to only those people who have a high school GPA of 3.5 or better. So I want the probability that a randomly selected student is on academic probation if they have a high school GPA of 3.5 or better. And kids, the reason I'm reading it to you that way, this right here acts as the word if. So I'm going to talk to you about that in just a second. All right, so I want you to keep that in mind. All right, so now my fraction in the denominator, I'm not going to have 500 people. I'm going to have 215 people because those are all of the students who have a GPA in high school of 3.5 or better. And out of those 215, 30 of them are on academic probation. So this looks different because when we have conditional probability, that denominator now is no longer everybody, it's just the people with the GPA of 3.5 or better. All right, I told you I was going to talk to you about this if idea. It can look a little bit different. I can write this in a different way, but I still have to set up the problem the same way. Let's say I had written the problem this way. If a student has a GPA of 3.5 or better, what is the probability they will be on academic probation? All right? This is the exact same question. It's just that the if statement is first. Now, when you're setting up the problem, though, what is the probability of academic probation? That always comes first. The information after the word if always comes after the symbol when you're setting up the equation or when you're setting up the probability statement. So this is still going to be GPA 3.5 or better. All right, so just keep that in mind. Regardless of how it's written, this acts as the word if right there, okay? That it always acts that way. All right, now let's look at part D. Are having a GPA of 3.5 or better and being on academic probation independent events? All right, babies, just like on the last problem I did in example 10E, you can write this in one of four ways. It does not matter which way you write it, as long as the way you write it reflects the correct number values. That's all I care about. So let's get crazy. Let's start with this one. What's the probability of being on academic probation given you have a GPA of 3.5 or better? I want to know if that is equal to, and if it helps you in your mind to make this a sentence, you can. You can say, is this equal to the probability of being on academic probation given you don't have a GPA of 3.5 or better? Okay, so you can do it this way. All right, this fraction, GPA of 3.5 or better, that's 215. Academic probation, that's 30. Notice that this right here is the same as this. That's why I chose to use that one. Okay, I already had that set up. All right, so now I want the probability you're on academic probation if you didn't have a GPA of 3.5 or better. Well, that's these two groups of people right here. So that's 285. And then in the numerator, I would have academic probation would be 105 because it's the 50 and 55. Okay, it should be pretty obvious to you that these are not going to be equal to each other. Okay, I've got that decimal. And got this decimal, 0.0, dang it, 0.0035. All right, clearly those are not equal to each other, so they're not independent of one another. All right, that is exactly how you need to set this up. Do I need to see all of these steps? Yes, I do need to see all of these steps. You can write this first part as a question if it makes you more comfortable or helps you understand it a little bit better, but I do need to see all of the steps I am showing you. So if you think you can skip out and just write the words not independent, I'm not giving you any credit for just writing that. So keep that in mind. I want to see all this work.